Hello, I'm Jessica Rowe. I'm a mum, I'm a journalist, I'm a writer, I'm a mental health campaigner, and I'm almost 42. When I was growing up, when I was at high school, we didn't really talk about bullying. I think it wasn't a term that anyone used, but looking back, if I think about it, it was girls just being awful and bitchy to each other. And gee, we can be cruel, and it's so unnecessary. Especially at a time, I think, like I look back and remember how I felt as a teenager, and I would not want to go back there for anything. It's such a difficult, awkward time because you're trying to come to terms with who you are at a time when you feel, well, for me anyway, I know I felt really sort of ugly. I had terrible acne. I used to sort of walk around with my hands over my face, and I'd turn my acne into beauty spots thinking that would hide them, which it so didn't. And I just felt really self-conscious and awkward. And there were times when I felt like I didn't fit in, and it's a tricky time. And it sort of breaks my heart when I think about how mean we can be to each other. I've got two little girls, and I really hope and pray for them that they're going to have a really happy and positive time at school, because for a lot of people, it's not. Oh, it's such a tricky thing to have the clues, to have the answers to, okay, how can I make sure that they're happy at school? What I try and do as a mum is make them feel good about who they are, and in a way, I suppose, empower them and say to them, I'm here for you. I'll always love you. Doesn't matter what you do, I'm always here for you. And I like to say to them, you know, yes, you're beautiful, but you're beautiful because you're beautiful on the inside. And that's what makes you a special person. And I talk to them about the importance of being kind to each other, because I think kindness is so important. And I think often kindness is underestimated, how important it is that we need to be gentle with each other. And especially with my eldest daughter, she's such a sensitive little soul, and I can see her already, she's only 5, already getting anxious and worried about when people are being mean to her at school. And as a mum, I kind of want to go in and start yelling and carrying on, but of course you can't do that. But I try and give her the tools even now to sort of say to them, you know, stop it, I don't like it, and to walk away. Also, I think humour is a really good way of trying to deal with tricky situations. I know I always love to have a laugh at things, and I think if you can laugh at a situation and walk away, that is quite empowering for you to do. And it almost, I think, takes the power away from the person who's trying to be unkind and cruel and unsettle you. When I was growing up in high school, I went through all those sort of the teenage angst, which it is such an awful time. You always feel like you're not pretty enough, your skin isn't good enough, you're not cool enough. I would never sit at the back of the bus where all the cool kids would sit. You know, you want to fit in at a time when you feel like you're not fitting in. And for me, what was wonderful was my beautiful mum and my sisters, you know, my dad, they, although my parents had split up, I came from a very nurturing, loving environment. And I mean, Mum used to always say to me, I will never ever stop loving you, even though I might not like you very much at the moment or like what you're doing, I'll never stop loving you. And I think that message of unconditional love is so important, because if you know that you're going to be loved no matter what, it gives you that courage and that bravery to be, I suppose, more yourself and to have a go at things and to be brave, because you know that someone's going to be there to catch you. That it didn't matter that I wasn't the first one to be kissed, that it didn't matter that I still don't have boobs, that I suppose that it's going to be okay and that the time will pass. Often when you're in the midst of something like that, you think, oh my God, this is my life, this is it. I'm going to feel like this forever, and nothing is forever. And I think it's important to know that you have the power to change a situation. Another really lovely lesson that my mum taught me, and I hope that I can pass on to my girls, is that often you don't have a choice over what happens to you, but you do have a choice over how you decide to deal with it. and that gives the power back to you. So you might find yourself in a situation where you're thinking, I had nothing to do with this situation, but what you can do is choose how you decide to deal with it, and that gives you power, and that's really important. Bullying continues throughout life. It's not something that's just restricted to the schoolyard, which is such, I mean, it's an unfortunate thing that it happens regardless, but definitely in the work environment there are situations where you see people in positions of power lording that over someone who doesn't have the same either position or economic status, which is just an appalling way to treat somebody. And that is a very difficult situation to find yourself in, especially when you might just be beginning your career, you want to do the right thing, you want to impress your superiors, and it's very, very difficult. And I think all of us have been in those sorts of situations where you're thinking, oh, how on earth do I deal with this? And especially early on, I know when I first started in journalism, I mean, it's a tough profession, and it's not for the faint-hearted. And I think, though, because I never like to, I suppose, focus too much on the negative, but how I've always tried to deal with situations like that is to remain true to who you are and not to lose your sense of self in a situation that can be quite confronting, and to remain true to who you are and what your beliefs are, and to never feel that you have to be pressured into doing something that you really are not comfortable with. It's not worth it. I just think it's really important to know that you're not alone, that all of us have tough and difficult times. I've suffered depression, and when I went through that, I felt like I was the only person who had ever felt like this, and that there would be no end to my, I suppose, my sadness and my sense of sort of blackness. But there was a way through, and part of that way through was putting my hand up and asking for help and talking about how you feel. And I think it's really important to know that help is out there. Talk to somebody, because once you put voice to what's going on inside of you, you'll realise that you're not the only one, that there are plenty of other people feeling exactly as you're feeling. And there is a way through, because life, I mean, life really is, or can be, wonderful. And I think it's so important to look for the joy, because there is so much sadness, and we all need to find that joy. And how we can do that is by helping each other and by asking for help. You're not alone, it's not just you. Become a community brave mentor, and together we can change the world.